If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. When the Warrior of Light makes her way back to Razadhan, Varshan is happy to say that he just got word from the Ironworks saying that they've finished upgrading the warding scales and they're on their way bringing them over. In other good news, the alchemists have finished making the artificial Atomos, so everything is ready for your trip into the void. Since this puts him one step closer to rescuing his sister, Varshan has already told everyone to meet at the Great Work, so the two of you make your way over there. Y'shtola and the others are already there when you show up, and she has a very creepy tiny Atomos floating by her. This thing is just dying to become a part of the minion collection. They haven't tested it yet, but it's an exact match to the one in the book, so it should work out the same way. Nadana and the alchemist did a pretty impressive job, one that Varshan wants to thank her for personally, but the woman's already run off to work on another task, because none of the alchemists understand the concept of taking a break. But she told Y'shtola that she'd be back soon, which gives Sid and his usual crew of Nero, Biggs, and Wedge time to show up. Y'shtola hadn't expected Sid to come himself, but anyone who knows Sid at all knows that he won't pass up an opportunity to skip work. Plus he was there for the Crystal Tower, so he definitely doesn't want to miss your next trip into the void. And of course, Nero wouldn't miss this for the world. According to him, the warding scales that they made should be able to keep you safe in the void for about 10 years, so you pretty much have everything you need to make the trip. But Nadana does have one thing that she wants to give to Varshan before he leaves, so she drags him off. The gift that she and the alchemist cooked up for him takes a bit longer to get ready than they planned, but it was well worth it, since they made him a much older and stronger vessel, one that he's able to put the power of his eye in. Which means your crew will have two members of the First Brood, the Warrior of Light and Y'shtola. Together you should be more than strong enough to explore the void, so after Varshan tells his people to be prepared for anything once they open the gate, you all head off to start the mission to save his sister. But not before Y'shtola gives you a gift of your own sent over by the Loporrits. It's the very crystal that they had used to guide the Scions to Meteon. Since they don't need it anymore, they decided it would be better back in your hands. Having a crystal of light on the void will definitely be useful for something, so the Warrior of Light puts it in her bottomless pockets and you all head off. Varshan unseals the portal and Y'shtola's Atomos swallows it whole, expanding the very tiny gate into a full-size portal that you all can definitely fit through, which means the first part, and likely the easiest part of your journey, is over. The last time Varshan had stepped through the gate, he had popped out in a castle full of voidsent. But he thinks that the four of you should be able to fight your way through them. There's nothing left to do but try, so you all step through the portal and make the journey to the 13th shard. It is immediately clear why Varshan had been forced to run the last time. You are all instantly attacked the moment you appear in the castle, and the voidsent that live in the place are far from weak. The leader of the castle is a voidsent named Beatrice, and after you cut through legions of her underlings, she decides that you're worthy of her eating personally. Until she realizes that you're all far stronger than she is, and she decides to run away. She doesn't get far because Scarmilione, one of the four archfiends, sensed you opening the gate and showed up to check it out. He kills Beatrice, absorbs her ether, then turns his vast amount of power on you. Strong though he may be, the archfiend is obliterated by your team. The fact that he had known the void gate had been opened means he and his people have been watching it and waiting for that to happen. That's not all that different from what you all do, but what Varshan is more curious about is why he so casually ate Beatrice. It could be a sign that what you had all thought of as relatively mindless creatures have different factions that fight amongst themselves. That should be obvious for anyone who's done any of the side content dealing with voidsent, but the only one who's really dealt with them to that degree is the Warrior of Light. But for some reason she doesn't mention Lilith, Diabolos, Ferdiad, or any of the other voidsent who have had clear plans and allegiances. There's no time to discuss that now anyway, because with the fall of their leaders, the lesser voidsent of the area are gathering and staring at you all. That's all they're doing because even the stupid ones realize that they can't beat you. Since you're going to be there for a while, Varshan figures that since the fighting's over for now, you need to find out about this strange new world, and that requires you to talk to the voidsent, which is likely going to be interesting. Varshan is a bit worried because he should be able to sense his sister at least a little bit, and without being in his true form, he can't actually call out to her. Plus, doing that would be like ringing a dinner bell for all the voidsent. So you all head off to hunt for the dragon in the old-fashioned way. Some of the creatures, like the floating eyeballs, are too dumb to talk, while others just rant about not being strong enough to eat you. The good news is they at least speak the same language that you do, but none of the voidsent nearby know anything about a dragon. But they did capture one that seems to know a lot about a lot of different stuff. Granted, the smarter creatures tend to taste better, so it's likely that the voidsent has already been eaten. Since talking to the lower level voidsent is basically an exercise in futility, you all head into the dungeon to see if this so-called clever creature hasn't been eaten yet. It not only hasn't, it's a voidsent that you recognize. It was the one that was bonded to Xenos, and it remembers you too. The moment you reveal that little tidbit of information, your friends immediately get ready for a fight. When Xenos died, the voidsent was yanked back to the 13th. It doesn't seem all that interested in picking up where your fight with Xenos left off, however, but it does seem interested in you personally. So the Warrior of Light goes to talk to it, which causes Heidelin's crystal to activate and pour light into the creature, returning it to its true form, that of a woman that looks a whole lot less creepy than her other form did. Apparently this is how she normally looked before Xenos forced her into serving him as his Reaper avatar. Usually those links offer mutual benefits, but Xenos just outright stole her power and made her his slave. Not necessarily the best deal. It twisted her body into that monstrous form, but she doesn't seem to really care all that much about the fact that she has her body back. What she looks like doesn't really matter that much to her. And it doesn't matter to Estinian whether she's hideous or hot, she's still a voidsent, and he wants to know if she's a friend or foe. Depending on her answer, he may just decide to put his spear in her. I really should have thought about that line before I put it in the script. Regardless, the woman knows that fighting you all would end poorly, since even though she was linked to Xenos, she still took an L from you before. Not many people willingly sign up to take a beating for free. Since she answered your question, she wants you to tell her if you were actually Xenos' friend. Obviously you weren't, which means the voidsent still doesn't have an answer to the question of what a friend even is. Without another word, she leaves the cell, and the rest of you follow her, all the while something is watching you from the shadows. Since this voidsent is the best source of information that you found, you're not willing to let her just wander off. She's fine with talking to you, but not for free. Voidsent don't do anything unless they get something out of the deal, which isn't all that foreign of a concept. On the source, people pay for things with money. On the void, they pay with ether. Ishtola's willing to give away some of hers, emphasis on some since she doesn't want to die, and the voidsent agrees, but she'd rather talk outside of the prison. According to her, the void used to be a place with a bright sky, plants, animals, and blue seas. That was before the war called the Contra Memoria that caused the world to be consumed by darkness. The sky went dark and the night became permanent, basically the first in reverse. But some of the voidsent kept bits and pieces of their memories. That caused them to form factions and carve out kingdoms of their own across the land. Some of that you had already figured out. What Ishtola wants to know is why Xenos' former avatar is different from other voidsent, despite having way too much dark ether flowing through her to be anything else. The answer is she's only part voidsent. Her mother was pregnant with her and had been consumed by darkness while she was still in the womb. When she was born, she looked normal, but when she hit adulthood, she stopped aging. So in other words, she's Blade. At least that was the case back then. As for now, she may as well be full voidsent. She consumes the weak just like they do, and her own survival is all that matters to her. She doesn't even have a name anymore. Since calling her voidsent will be annoying and confusing, Ishtola decides to name her Zero, since for now there's no telling where the woman's path will lead, and since everyone starts from zero, the name makes sense. She doesn't care one way or another, so she accepts. Since you're all dragging her into your mission, Varshan thinks it's best to tell her why you're all there. So he tells her about your search for Ashdaya, but he stops when he hears something that's clearly listening in. He figures it'll be better to talk inside of the castle, but Zero never agreed to move around with you all, so she expects to be paid as soon as you get there. Y'shtola's as good as her word and goes to hand over the ether, but the transfer is stopped when Scarmillione reappears and tries to kill her. Apparently, death doesn't mean all that much to the voidsent. They can resurrect constantly, which puts you all in a very bad position since you are all very, very mortal. It makes sense though. The light ether of the first prevents life from appearing. The dark ether of the 13th prevents life from ending. So unless the voidsent are absorbed by someone else, they will always come back. When Scarmillione takes a good look at Varshan, he sees his ether is similar to a creature that he ate before, and he wants more of it. So using his power, he summons more voidsent to help him deal with you all. Zero decides to sit your fight out since you haven't paid her for the other help she's given. She's willing to talk to you after you win, but if you lose, she plans on eating Y'shtola as payment. That's probably another line that I should have thought about before I wrote. Scarmillione's minions aren't all that strong, but he has a lot of them since all the creatures in the castle now serve him. That's bad enough, but his powers as the Archfiend of Earth lets him resurrect everyone you kill instantly, turning the battle into a war of attrition that you can't win. Zero knows of a way to stop the voidsent from coming back, but she doesn't really have a reason to tell you. She doesn't think she owes you anything, but according to Y'shtola she does since she never paid you for the name you gave her. Technically she didn't ask for it in the first place, but she did accept it, so she steps in and attacks the voidsent, and when she kills them they turn into crystals, their essence is sealed away in a way that Scarmillione can't revive. Since the Archfiend did interrupt Zero from getting her ether by trying to kill Y'shtola, he owes Zero a debt too, so she decides to help you kill him. The Archfiend is no pushover, but with Zero fighting with you he's beaten, and when she cuts him and his body won't heal, he recognizes the power as something called Memoria. It's a power that she shouldn't have, and a power that can actually kill him. As he dies, he curses a man named Golbez for sending him to his death before he turns into a crystal too. The Warrior of Light, who has a bad habit of touching stuff without understanding what it is, picks the crystal up and is shown a vision. She sees 4 voidsents standing in front of a massive armored warrior called Golbez. He had summoned them there to promote them to commanders in his army, and as a part of that promotion, he has some very special ether for them to eat. The ether of Ashdaya. Apparently he captured her, and by letting them feed on her ether, they became the Archfiends. As weak as they were, they could only drain a part of the dragon's ether, which is good, because Golbez has other plans for her. Usually Y'shtola would be eager to find out what you saw, but the crystallized voidsent and Zero's Memoria power draw her and Varshan's attention. That power was at the center of the Contra Memoria War, and as far as Zero knows, the transformation is permanent. But Zero's not going to say another word to any of you until she gets her ether. Y'shtola pays up, and with that done, now she wants to know what it was that you saw. Hearing that his sister is suffering is not something that Varshan wanted to hear, and the fact that it's being done at the hands of this Golbez fellow means that you all have a lot to plan for, and we'll discuss that in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and donate to the channel so I can keep bringing you guys new content. Until next time guys, later.